All right, we open our WILF meetings with the Raging Grannies. Okay, you know what that means. I'm
My
gonna.
battery is low. I better go put it in charge. Put my battery in charge.
We're the Raging Grannies, and we're here to take a stand to stop the slaughter of our children all across this land. We ask for more than prayers and tears, it's laws that we demand. We're rising up today. No more shootings, no more hating. Families rise, we're tired of waiting. Hoping our politicos will finally do what's right. Enough, it's time to fight. We need to settle arguments with words, not grab a gun. We need to offer coping skills learned by everyone. Lawmakers need to work for us, their greed must be undone. We're rising up today. No more shootings, no more hating. Families rise, we're tired of waiting. Hoping our politicos will finally do what's right. Enough, it's time to fight. Money from the NRA is tainted by our tears. Spineless politicians line their pockets, that's our fear. Guns or children, make a choice. The answer's very clear. We're rising up today. No more shootings, no more hating. Families rise, we're tired of waiting. Hoping our politicos will finally do what's right. Enough, it's time to fight. Regulating guns does not mean taking them away. It's easier now to buy a gun than drive on the freeway. Background checks at gun shows should begin without delay. We're rising up today. No more shootings, no more hating. Families rise, we're tired of waiting. Hoping our politicos will finally do what's right. Enough, it's time to fight. I'd like to know why people need to own AR-15s. Assault rifles have no good use, they're just killing machines. Let's set some limits, use good sense, for that we're very keen. We're rising up today. No more shootings, no more hating. Families rise, we're tired of waiting. Hoping our politicos will finally do what's right. Enough, it's time to fight.
Woo! All right. Great.
Yay.
Okay, now this one is to the tune of Old MacDonald Had a Farm. You know that tune, right? Okay. Change the gun laws, that's our plea. End gun violence now. Assault weapons we don't need. No, no, no way, no how. With a weapon here and a weapon there. Here a gun, there a gun, everywhere a killing gun. Change the gun laws, that's our plea. End gun violence now. Keep your guns under lock and key. Keep your children safe. Work with your community to help the human race. With an ordinance here and an ordinance there. Lock a gun, register gun, keep out a killing gun. Change the gun laws, that's our plea. End gun violence now. Okay. And now that's the beginning of our WILF meeting. And now to our convener. I think that's going to be Rowan today.
Okay, welcome everybody. We're so lucky to have Karen Pandula with us. She's a gun violence survivor working to promote gun safety. She's the founder of the Silicon Valley Alliance for Gun Safety. And they've been doing a lot of work specifically in Sunnyvale right now, but they've been doing work all over the Valley. And she's going to talk about the Alliance, their mission, and their recent focus of encouraging our local cities to pass firearms safe storage ordinances. and other things. And thank you so much for joining us, Karen. And I look forward to hearing what you have to tell us.
Thank you so much. Okay, I am going to just go right. I have a presentation. I'm going to go right into that. And you're going to have to forgive me. I don't know how long this is. I don't think it's as long as even an hour. I'm looking at my screen. I can't see you guys. So if you have a question, can you just jump right in? And I think there'll be time for questions and discussion afterwards, because I'm actually really, as much as I want to share information with you all, I really want to hear your perspectives and your concerns also around gun violence and gun violence prevention. So, so who we are. Rowan gave that nice introduction. So Silicon Valley Alliance, we started about 3 years ago, right when COVID started. We're a coalition of gun violence prevention advocates, all working together to reduce all forms of gun violence in Silicon Valley. And you know, the bottom line is everyone wants safe places for our families to work and live and play. And like you said, there's a lot of gun violence, even in our area. So Silicon Valley Alliance for Gun Safety, we have, what makes us a coalition is that we have chapter leads for some of the national organizations. So you're familiar with Brady, Moms Demand Action. Community Interfaith Voice is the group that Reverend Eric Swanson heads up. The Interfaith Coalition of Faith Leaders who are concerned around gun violence. Also, another organization that had its beginnings at Stanford, it's Scrubs Addressing the Firearm Epidemic. They go by SAFE, and they're a group of physicians, and their mission is primarily education, but they've gone national, and they're working with educating medical students about how to talk to their patients about gun violence, and also, unfortunately, how they will see it in their practice. And then, you know, this is just the organizations, and we have there's several of us, like myself, who were just passionate about the issue and want to see people stop being hurt and killed by gun violence. So we have, as a group, I think this started, like I said, we started right during COVID, so we couldn't actually meet in person. There weren't any rallies, there weren't any tabling options, things like that. And so we decided that we felt like secure storage of firearms was one of the key preventative measures that can be taken to prevent gun violence and reduce it. And so we decided that we were going to go city to city within our county, Santa Clara County, and try to encourage councils to pass firearm secure storage. So in case you're not familiar, secure storage means locking a gun in a secure place, for example, in a gun safe, or using a trigger lock or cable lock. It doesn't mean putting it on top of the refrigerator or up high in a closet. And according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the gun should be unloaded, locked, and stored separately from ammunition. So ideally, the ammunition is stored and locked in a separate location. I should say up front, though, that I don't want to come across as like bashing gun owners. I know that there can be a lot of that, right? And that's not really the intent here. It's like we're just trying to get people that do own guns to be more responsible about them. And sometimes it takes a little legislation to help them. I think most people are law abiding, and having an ordinance in place like secure storage, I think the majority of people would, once they're aware of it, they would do so. So why is secure storage so important? So like I said, this is what we decided to focus on because studies have shown that locking up your gun will reduce incidences of suicide. It reduces stolen weapons, accidental shootings, and school shootings. And I'm going to go through each of these bullet points. Oh, that's a word. That's a bad word. Sorry. Each of these topics in a little bit more detail. So this is the background data for those 4 topics. So as you know, just in your own experience of reading the paper and listening to the news, right? Gun violence has increased. And in fact, during COVID, there was a 66% surge in gun sales alone in California in just the year of 2020, 2 years ago now. And in Santa Clara, this is from the recent, a lot of this data that I have is from the recent cost of gun violence to the county. So last year, there were nearly, let's just say like 500,000 guns were either purchased or owned by people within our county. And in San Jose specifically, it's about 16–17% of households with firearms. So again, in our county, there's, of course, the emotional cost, which is the hardest loss is like guns kill and injure almost 400 people every year in our county. And on the right over here, you'll see the breakdown of the firearm deaths. And this is true. This is very typical of what you will see actually if you look at the national data too. So suicide by using a gun is typically the highest rate of firearm deaths. And in my opinion, it's kind of something that people don't talk about. It's not as well known. I think the homicides, the school shootings get a lot of the, get a lot of media attention. And so that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit more in the next couple of slides. So in addition to the emotional cost, there's also financial cost. Again, this is from the cost of gun violence for the county. This is a big number. $1.2 billion annually is what the estimated sum total of firearm violence is in our county. And that's including, the medical care, and then also just, the softer type of things that maybe, they put a value on, which is the pain and suffering and quality of life, like loss of work and mental health issues from after someone that you love has been hurt or killed by gun violence. As I said, the majority of nationally and locally, the number of firearm deaths are actually suicide. And the unfortunate thing is that if somebody attempts suicide and they have access to a gun, there's a 90% chance that they're going to be successful. Whereas if they're using another means to hurt themselves, there's only a 4% chance of them actually resulting in their dying. So it's a pretty startling difference. There's no, I don't want to get too graphic, but, and then this I think is even more troubling if you think of this as a parent. So suicide and youth occurs 65% of the time. The majority of the time it's in the family's home. And it's actually the majority of the time also is that the gun is owned by the family member. So I can't imagine the heartbreak that those parents and family members are going through to have experienced that, right? And it can be preventable if the gun was locked up. And this was something that was something I have just learned in the last few years, that suicide, they know now, is very much an impulsive act, and the person that is wanting to harm themselves decides very quickly, within 5 or 10 minutes, that they are going to attempt suicide. And if they're not able to find a lethal method like a firearm, perhaps in those 5 to 10 minutes, they will change their mind, because they'll have they won't have easy access to the firearm, and so they have to kind of reconsider. And I think that the studies have shown that so often this is enough, right, to keep them from hurting themselves, and maybe giving more time for their family and others to intervene. And so I would be remiss if I didn't say that if you're concerned about somebody who, yourself or others who might want to hurt themselves, it's important to recognize the suicide warning signs and know what to do and where to find help. So we worked with the county's behavioral health department on a campaign that they did. It's called begunsafe.org. And it's a website. It was like a public awareness campaign that they ran last year. They're not doing that. They were running like TV ads and radio ads, and but right now it's a website, and it has a lot of good information about not only like resources for how to lock up your gun if you have one, and like I said, all these other important things as well. So that covers the how safe storage affects suicide. Now we're going to switch just a little bit into theft. So obviously, if you have a firearm in your home and your home is burglarized, it is very likely one of the things that is going to be taken, and as well as in your car. So there's been in the last few years a widespread increase in the number of gun thefts. And the reason why this is important is that the majority of the weapons that are recovered from a theft were used in connection with violent acts. So keeping your gun stored safely in your home is preventing your gun from being used in a crime that might hurt or kill someone. So children and firearms. So I don't know if you have heard this, but in the CDC's last data point that they have, most recent, is from 2020. And the leading cause now of death in children from age 1 to 19, is firearms. And this used to be for many, many years, it was motor vehicle deaths, right? Particularly in the 16 to 19 year age. And in this last, and I think in 2021 too, it didn't like blip back down. I think it stayed as the #1 cause of death in children. And I just think this is, it's inexcusable, really. I mean, in our country. And yeah, I don't know about you, it makes me very sad. And the fact is that children know where guns are in their home. you know, children are curious about it. You know, they've done studies and had surveys with children. About a third say that they can access their a loaded firearm in their home, their own home, within 5 minutes. So they know exactly where they are. And what's interesting about this is then they interviewed parents as well. And the majority of parents said that, oh, you know, like their children, there's no way that they could access the firearm in their home. So there's this sense from the parents, right, that, you know, oh, I have it well hidden, right, and they won't know where it is, or they won't go into my bedroom, right? But we know that that's not true, right? We were all kids once too, right? We know we're all very curious human beings, and so for the safety of our children, we should really keep if you have a gun, it should be locked up. I'm going to stop share and then
Start
share
again.
Sorry about that, you guys.
Hey, we're used to Zoom problems.
Well, while you're stopped, there are a couple of questions in the chat, and perhaps we can ask those at this point, and then you can resume.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
So the questions are, do the figures of firearm deaths include the death when police kill people? You know, you had that 400 people in the county. Does that include gun deaths by police?
I can't say for sure, but I would imagine it does, because there are a handful, unfortunately, every year, right?
Okay. And then you said 1.2 billion, and you said annually, but on your screen it said 2016 to 2020. Is it 1.2 billion annually or over the 4 years?
I'm going to try to go back. Okay, this screen is frozen. Let me.
Technology.
There are about a dozen people killed by police in this county every year, which I don't actually myself consider a handful.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I wouldn't either. I didn't know the exact number.
That's what I work on.
Oh, do you do?
Police
Yeah, I take your word for sure.
I know a lot about that topic.
What do you do?
Oh, I'm retired. I'm an activist. But the Pact of Beloved community team has been working on gun violence, in police gun violence for the last, I don't know, 6 years or something. So I've done a lot of work on that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to minimize it.
Those are just the ones who die, not the ones who are shot. Those are just the ones who die. There are lots of other people who the police shoot.
Right, right.
Okay, well, those are the questions that came up in the chat.
So I'm going to go back to sharing, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to that slide. And this is the way I interpret this. This is that during the years of 2016 to 2020, the annual cost was 1.2 billion. So each year it was, but during that time frame. I can go back. I will go back and double check.
I thought it said 1.28. So I was trying to figure out whether it was billions or millions, but it's 1.2 B as in billions of dollars.
Right,
Mercy.
Right. And I can, do most of you all live in San Jose?
Santa Clara County.
Santa Clara County.
Are you talking about in the city limits of San Jose?
Yes, because I have that information as well.
Probably most of us don't, actually.
You don't then, yeah.
Some do. So Rowan does.
I do, yeah.
Probably some others.
And Penny, you do. Maybe Donna does.
I live in San Jose. I've lived in San Jose since 1997.
Yeah. So just San Jose alone spends $8 million responding to shootings, and that's not the and 442 million just in San Jose, that's the cumulative cost with, you know, when you account for, like I said, the
And with
pain and suffering.
what's missing from this is the financial cost. Maybe that's the other 7%, but that would have to be more, is when families sue the city and then the city has to pay the family for the wrongful death.
Mm-hmm,
The criminal trial never gets to happen. So they do file a civil lawsuit.
Right. I'm unfortunately familiar with
They
that.
awarded that money and it's taxpayer money. The police officers who actually killed somebody doesn't come out of their pocket. It's our tax money.
Yeah, like I said, unfortunately, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
I can remember one year here in San Jose, and I can't remember which year it was, at least 7 people were killed by cops in 1 year here in San Jose.
I know, to me, I'm just like, it's all just more families that are, you know, that have to grieve and feel the loss and pain of their loved one, right? It's yeah. Like I said, I could tell you, but I have personal experience with this, and it's yeah, I feel for the person even that was shot by the police, you know, even though for what they did is completely wrong, because I just feel for their family too. So I'm going to go on. I think I was here. See if I can go forward now. Yay. Okay. So there's a lot of information here. You know, almost 5 million children live in a household. This is in the United States, where at least one gun is unlocked and loaded. Kind of going back to what we talked about before about, you know, like certainly most of them know where that gun is. So I guess it's not a huge surprise that 75% of the school shooters who are under 18, the gun that they used within the school shooting was from their home or from relatives or friends. And this last bit of data, again, it's troubling to me very much, that one small child unintentionally shoots himself or herself after finding an unsecured firearm in their home. And this is every day in our country. And every day, 2 older children, primarily teens, commit suicide using an unsecured firearm. And again, needless deaths, right?
And would it also be every day a small child unintentionally shoots another person, another friend, another small child, or somebody in the family because they're playing with a gun? If they don't always just shoot themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It's like you said, they see it in so much of the entertainment, right? Is, you know, what do? You pick up the gun and you shoot it and you point it at somebody, right? I don't know the answer to that. This is like a particular study that I grabbed the information exactly as it was, so I can't maybe extrapolate it, you know, and say that, but I would imagine that you're right. So looking at now, so that was kind of like the background of how secure storage, like which the problems it's trying to solve. And so if we look at the solutions, I mean, in a nutshell, right, secure storage saves lives. And then we've seen how it can reduce the impact of firearm suicides, stolen weapons, accidental shootings, and school shootings. And this from UC Davis, they did a study, and I think it was a couple of years ago, only 35% of California households are actually storing their firearms in the most secure manner, which is you know, in a lockbox or with a trigger lock. This now goes back to a slide that we use in the Silicon Valley Alliance for gun safety. So we're proud of this map. The green areas are where we've worked hard to expand secure storage ordinances, and we're still doing our best and working on the areas in red. Those are the areas where there's more resistance. And if any of you live in those areas and want to connect to me and let me know, because we really need, when it comes time to talking to the city councils, they listen primarily to their constituents, and that's where, you know, it really helps to have people calling in and writing in and saying, you know, this is important, and you know, I live in this city and I vote for you, and I you know, I want our cities to be safer. So the other thing I was just going to share with you is that one thing, what we're working on right now is our California representatives, Mark Berman and Evan Lowe, came to years and years ago. This is before, I'll give you a time frame is like COVID, right? So before COVID, they came to a presentation and they said, wow, you know, if you can get the majority of cities in the county to pass safe storage ordinances, then you know, they would feel empowered to be able to go into it, take it to the state. So we're talking to them, and hopefully that'll be the case. And then we don't have to do this like piecemeal, city by city, and there'll be a uniform, comprehensive safe storage ordinance for our state. But that's a ways off. So what can you do? I know you're all super involved and active. So you know this probably better, you know, than most, is that, you know, your voice is important and it matters. And so you know, ask your city to invest in gun violence prevention. I was saying at the beginning, these 3 different proposals are being made by the county right now, and they're going to take it to the board of supervisors. There are 7 proposals that they're putting forward. It's actually very comprehensive. I picked 3 of them, and I don't know, they're probably not going to go with all 7 of them, but I guess these are the ones that are more in line with like what our alliance is pursuing. So the first one is encouraging the adoption of safe policies and practices. That would be safe storage. That would be what some other cities are considering is, you know, not allowing, like having gun stores to be licensed and to carry liability insurance, to be certain distances, so many feet away from areas where children are present. There's a lot of the different things that some of the Mountain View right now is considering quite a few new laws that they want to expand upon safe storage. They're seeing around them that Palo Alto and Sunnyvale have done more than just safe storage, and I applaud them. They're looking to do more. So the second proposal, and I think this is really important as well, is that, you know, we can pass ordinances and we can make laws, but if the public isn't aware of them, it's really just, you know, something on a piece of paper. So I think this is going to be our next focus area in our group, is really getting the word out and public education campaigns about safe practices and you know, what the existing laws are. And this again will be so much easier if there were uniform state laws. And then the third is really working within the community and focusing on, equity and looking at areas that are more disadvantaged and have a higher concentration or risk factors for gun violence, and working with like violence interruption programs. They have some that work like within the community, and then they have others that work within the hospital setting, so that if somebody is hospitalized from a gunshot wound, there are counselors now that go in and work with that person so that there is not then a revenge shooting, because that's typically what's seen, right, is one shooting leads to another shooting, and trying to break that cycle. So we have been, like I said, we've been talking with the county and given them some information about like Oakland and Stockton. They have a just a more comprehensive strategy for gun violence prevention, and part of that is that they have much more community-based programs. And also this goes into the category, I don't think I copied this one, but this is also really important in terms of prevention, is, having skill building, job opportunities, fun things for children and youth to do, to keep them just to keep them as, functioning members of the community and not to turn to gun violence. So really the key is we're looking at prevention, and we can save lives and save money by investing in gun violence prevention. And prevention, not reaction, will make our community a place where we can all live and thrive. So that is what I have for you tonight. If there's any other questions, you guys are asking good questions. I'll do my best to try to answer them. If not, I can get back to you. Does anybody have any questions?
This isn't exactly a question, but I admit I was disturbed about your framing about people shot by the police having done something. Often what they're have done is have a mental health crisis and the police shoot them. People like Diana Showman, who was in her front yard holding a drill. She was schizophrenic. That's why she got shot. She didn't do anything. And so I think maybe reframing how you think about police shootings might, be useful when you're talking to audiences like us who are involved.
Yes.
Yes. In
I
these
think
kinds of issues.
Yes, thank you so much, Ron. Like I said, coming from personal experience, so forgive me, I have a little bit of a bias and a certain ingrained perspective there, but it's not complete.
What was your experience? I'm wondering what happened.
So 11 years ago, my daughter and her boyfriend were shot and killed in San Jose. And several days later, they didn't. The investigators were, trying to find out the motive and what had happened and who had done this. And the young man who shot them was he was in the streets and he was shooting up cars and pointing his gun at people who were driving by, and So the police were alerted, and when the police went and found him, you know, they were trying to get him to lower his weapon and to drop his gun, and he wouldn't. And in fact, the young man, he instead, you know, raised his gun to shoot at the police, and so they shot him. And so that's what I'm saying is, like, you know, now there's the third family that is suffering a loss, and I don't know what his situation was. You know, I don't know if he had a mental illness. I don't know what he was angry about. I don't. Yeah, I just know that now there's 3 families that don't have their child anymore, and yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss, and I see that Donna has her hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are also many instances of people belonging to ethnicities that are not European descent people.
Mhm.
And they get shot dead, sometimes in the back, sometimes with their hands up. And then the cops say, oh, they had a gun, and guns are planted on them. So Rudy Cardenas was being chased by DEA agents. And at one point in time, he stopped his car, got out of the car, and ran. He was running away.
Right.
Michael Walker shot him in the back and claimed that it looked to him that Rudy had a gun and he was about to turn and shoot him, which was an absolute lie. So Rudy Cardenas was murdered in cold blood. He was shot in the back. Big Kathy Tran, the mother of 2 small children, was shot dead in her own home by Chad Marshall, who within 3 seconds of entering the house shot her dead. Now, she was 98 pounds, under 5 foot. He was something like 6 foot, 200 and something pounds. If he was that afraid, he could have just stepped right back outside the house. Witnesses who were there said within 3 seconds of him going in, they heard pow, pow, pow. She was murdered in front of her 2 small children. One was 2 years old and one was 4 years old. So I think the boyfriend then raised the 2 boys. He wasn't even married to her. And I think for a while they went to counseling, but the boys did not speak English. They spoke Vietnamese. So I don't know if they went to counseling and what happened with their lives to see their mother murdered in front of their eyes. I don't know how much the 2-year-old understood, but there's many other people who have been killed by police here in California and in other places too. They weren't doing anything wrong. They were just where they were doing what they were doing. The police didn't like it and they shot them dead. So there are people who commit murder for who knows what reasons. There's plenty of reasons to not be mentally stable in this country.
For sure.
Because of the stress that we live under, the racism and the white supremacy that exists, not just no hope ever of being able to make a living and to be able to provide for your family. That has to be, for adults who have children, that has to be torture. So, and then watching if you're a child and you're watching your parents work like crazy, right? Work 7 days a week from who knows how many jobs, and they still can't provide for the family. That has to be very difficult for the children to watch that.
Yeah, thank you, Donna.
Sorry.
So I worked on the safe storage ordinances in San Jose. That was how I knew who to contact about this stuff. You just did Sunnyvale. I saw your map. Are you working on other cities now? What are you currently working on?
All of the cities in green have passed safe storages. When we started, it was Sunnyvale and San Jose and Palo Alto. So all the others in the last 3 years, we've gotten them. Oh, I'm sorry, Milpitas too. yeah, they had passed. So yeah, so we've been going city by city, and we've honestly been trying on the others that are that haven't passed it yet, but their current city council is not supportive of it. And so we're kind of hoping with the elections, things may turn a little bit. And yeah, so I was part of the San Jose, I was part of Safe Cities Coalition. Do you remember that, Rowan? Yeah, I was part of that. So I live in Sunnyvale, so that's how I got introduced to safe stores and all the other ordinances that were passed in Sunnyvale. And the timing of that was such that it was like within a year of my daughter being shot. And so I just, that's what got me really started in working in gun violence prevention, because I saw the success, right, of just our local community saying, you know, we want this, and it passed. It was on the ballot, and it passed with a majority. And then, you know, it took a long time in San Jose, right? And it's still not, we're still trying to get San Jose to improve their improve their ordinance, because right now in San Jose, it only takes effect if you leave your home. I saw the comment. I have to
Say that again.
In San Jose's secure storage ordinance is only it only takes effect if you leave your home. If you're at home, you don't have to lock your gun up. Which, like I said, it doesn't cover the suicide, which is the #1 cause of death in our county, and theft. So. And
it doesn't cover if a child just wants to play with the gun.
Is right. That's
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's very weak. Okay, let me share this again.
But there was a lot of opposition. I was actually kind of amazed we got as much as we did.
Okay, can you see that map now? I can I can move this banner. Not sure who asked, but they were asking to see the map again. It's a kind of pixelated,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's good that you made it bigger. Yeah. I was looking for Campbell, which is red. So, and I've forgotten exactly what you said about I was just wondering whether you and the group have worked on these red cities already, or whether they're on the list for the future, or what's the situation as far as the red cities, or are they different situations?
They are, all of the red cities, all the cities shown in red here we have tried multiple times. We're just not getting any traction. We usually get 1 or maybe 2 council members who are all for it, but there's not support among the rest of the council. And so often it doesn't even come up for discussion.
So what you need then is more people in each of these red cities, and maybe some that have not so strong ordinances also, like San Jose, to form small groups to work with you who have had the experience, but to be the people in the town who are helping to contact council members. Is that the process?
That is, yeah. So if you live in one of these cities and you're aware of, you know, an organization, or if you're part of an organization that works in your community, that would be really helpful to know.
Okay, so organizations that are active in the red cities, in your own red city or another one, and would likely be interested.
I'd be very interested, because I'll tell you, for example, we have in Gilroy, there's one of the council members is, twice we tried to bring it to the council, and through this one council member who actually the second time approached us and said, hey, you know, I want to try to reintroduce this. And you would think, like, after the Gilroy shooting, right, the Gilroy Garlic Festival shooting, that they would be more supportive. And
Yeah.
and during the council meeting, they just said, you know, we don't want, you know, people from outside our city, meaning us, right, telling them how to run their city. And it's
Right.
fair, I get it. You know, we just didn't have enough Gilroy residents that called in and wrote in.
So I have a question, Karen.
Mhm.
There are, at least from what I know of the people on this call, there are at least 3 people who live in cities that are red. How could they contact you if they wanted to volunteer and do something on this program? What would that process be?
Well, I think maybe through Rowan, or I can put I'll tell you what, I'll put my email in the chat.
Great.
And if you didn't catch it, then you can get it. Rowan and I have been emailing each other.
Okay, so if you put that in the chat, that will be helpful. Then those people who live in a couple of cities that I'm aware of might be willing to volunteer. So, and I think those cities were, let's see, Gilroy, Cupertino, Campbell. There's 3 more. I can't remember.
Well, let me go back. It's Santa Clara.
Oh, Santa Clara.
And Milpitas.
Milpitas, that's 5. There's 1 more.
Cupertino, Santa Clara, Milpitas, Campbell, Los Gatos.
Los Gatos. Okay.
Yeah, and Gilroy.
Anybody who lives in those can. Your email is in the chat. Thank you. So make sure you capture her email, save the chat, whatever, so that you can become active in this. Rowan, I think Rowan, was Lois Fiedler also involved in the
Yes, back when we were doing San Jose, absolutely.
Yeah, and
Your name is familiar.
And the grannies have gone to the, you know, the lighting up of City Hall orange and sung our anti-gun violence songs and things like that. I mean, we all have been involved in those things.
I think I saw you all in Mountain View recently too, when Sally Lieber presented.
That's the Peninsula Grannies.
Oh, different organization. Okay.
It's actually the same organization, different gaggles.
Different gaggles. Yeah.
But we sometimes come together depending on the event.
Sure.
I have my name is Shirley Kinoshita. I live in Cupertino, and what I have a problem with is those leaders in my community who have very strong ties to their military service, who a monument to veterans who have passed away from the Vietnam War, and prominently among the 2 soldiers that are statues, one is holding a weapon like an AK-47. And it's like you're glorifying not only the military, but the weapon that is being carried. And I have difficulties with other people that I know personally who have berated me and told me that, they served in the military, they taught firearms to their fellow soldiers, that, that what I was saying was violating his Second Amendment rights and so forth and so forth. So it's usually somebody in the military who has objections to all this focus on, gun safety. So do you have that? Have you ever had that issue come up?
I've had that issue you know, it's interesting. Just after Sunnyvale passed their ordinances, their gun safety ordinances, the group that, the Sunnyvale group that I was a part of, that brought that forward, they were like, oh yay, you know, let's take this to other cities. And their first attempt was Mountain View. And I don't know if any of you were, this was like 10 years ago now, if you were at that city council meeting. It was obscene. I mean, people were shouting down the council members and other people that were there, survivors. It was really despicable. And we found out later that a lot of these people, I don't know if they were veterans, but they were like, they had come from all different parts of California. They weren't necessarily residents. But you know what's interesting now, so in the last couple of years, I'm always a little bit bracing myself when we're in a city council meeting that there's going to be a lot of opposition and very vocal, rude opposition. And honestly, most of the time there's either no one or maybe one person that calls in and just, you know, they talk about Second Amendment rights and everything. And it's a different time now. So that doesn't directly answer your question. I guess my answer is that I haven't seen that correlation myself, but I can appreciate like your response to seeing this monument that they created, that it could have been done effectively without the firearm in it, right?
It's what I'm coming up with in my mind is that for most of us, the emphasis on gun safety seems important, but not adequate. But from what you're saying about the opposition, my question is, how have you tried, or have other people tried in other parts of the country to get through to the people who think guns are so wonderful and important, and yet to get through to them about the safety aspect?
Yeah, when I think about it at a national level, and in other areas, I think what's really going to turn the tides is when you have the majority of gun owners also speaking up for gun safety, and just, you know, things like safe stores, not taking guns away from people, right? And you know, I guess I read a lot of studies, but honestly, the majority of gun owners, you know, they support background checks, they support safe storage, they support all of these things. Where they're resistant against is things like having a database of who's a gun owner, and, you know,
Yeah.
things that they feel like they might be a you know, identified as somebody you know, that wants to cause harm.
Yeah. So have people tried talking with any of the military veterans groups or that kind of thing to try to get them onto the safety aspect?
Well, I know the VA here locally, they have like a very big program on particularly the firearm suicide, because I mean, veterans not only are even within our county and nationally too, it's like white older men are the most prevalent age group and to commit suicide by firearm. And those numbers are even higher within the veteran community. And so, yeah, we do have some connections there.
But of course, if we're talking about, locking up guns, then the owners can certainly get to them. The older ex-military guys, white guys, whatever, anyway. But as far as the veterans groups being concerned about the younger people, because most of the things that you told us were about the younger people, and that would be because they are not the gun owners, they're the family or friends of the family who are not the people who you're talking about now, not the veterans. So maybe but it does seem as if the veterans are more likely to have guns. I don't know whether that's true or not, but anyway, then how are people working with veterans groups about concern about children?
Yeah, I think the VA takes that angle. I mean, I think that, yeah, I think they try their best. In fact, I know you can go into an VA I want to say hospital, but I don't know, what do they call their facility?
Right, the lodges or whatever.
The lodges, yeah. And they will give you a lockbox. They will give you whatever you need to be able to store it safely. So they have.
It's cool.
Yeah.
But then the question of whether it's a law is the next step then. For them to support, to obviously know that there is a problem, and then to support trying to do something about it. And then there's the whole public education thing once there is an ordinance.
Right. So Mountain View, interestingly, was one of the more recent cities to pass their safe storage ordinance. And we were very impressed because not only did they have the ordinance that they passed, but they also voted to fund the public education aspect of it. And now going forward, anytime we're talking to a city, we encourage them to include that, right? It's not enough just to pass it.
I think the local moms out front was going to gun shops and asking to put up safe storage notices in gun shops and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of things that people have tried. Sorry.
Paula, I was seeing your hand up.
Yes, so I'm picturing what Shirley showed with the statue and the big gun. So I'm trying to imagine what a safe storage box or device looks like. What is a safe storage box? What is it? What are the cables and all the things you described? What do those look like?
You can find them online, and like I said, the besafe.org, you can go there and it'll show examples of them. I actually have a gun safe because I don't know if you remember this, Rowan, but my husband used to go when we were talking to San Jose council members. We don't own a gun, but he bought the lockbox because he wanted to show how easy and quick it is to open it. So you just enter a lot of them now are fingerprint, but the one that he got is just enter in a code 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it pops open, and it's just a little box.
I mean, an AR-15 isn't a little gun.
Oh, well, I'm talking about a handgun. Yeah, that one you would need a case. They make like standing cases. Yeah, you can find them online. Yeah.
Karen, I'd like to say something, but I don't have a way to raise my hand, and I'm on my cell phone, so I'm not really sure how to do it. I've been trying to figure out how to raise my hand so I can be counted. This is Elena Robles. I'm on my Galaxy cell phone. First time, and it's like, I don't know how to even show you my hand or anything. May I say something?
Of
Sorry.
course.
Well, I think it's very heroic what you're doing, Karen, and I think we need more people who have the passion to keep at it, because it's kind of thankless in a way, you know. And I appreciate your listening to our perspective on the mental health, which I also personally think is one of the largest reasons we have the gun problem. And greed is the other big reason. I just a thought occurred to me. I work for the county. I'm a case manager, and suicide and those kinds of things are a part of what I live with in my job. But in the last year and a half or 2 years during the pandemic, the Veterans Department from the from the county has a joint social service agency. They moved them over to us. I don't know them very well, but they're newer with us, but they've been around for a long time. And I was wondering, like, how do we get those older veterans that are very staunch and set about, freedom and gun rights and that kind of thing? Because there's a difference between gun safety and gun control. Those two words are triggers, but gun safety may not be as much of a trigger to someone who's feeling like, they have their rights and they don't want to be told what to do and that kind of thing. But perhaps you and a couple other mothers or individuals can visit the veterans, make a visit to the Veterans Department at Social Services and ask if they could do a campaign for the next year that's coming up, and something like Veterans for a Safe Future for Our Children, or something like that, that kind of has the right trigger words in it that veterans might be able to respond to without thinking that it's gun control, like getting their names on a list and that kind of stuff that kind of makes they'll snap back at you, right? I have cousins that are veterans, they were in the Vietnam War. And yeah, I know what you're saying there, but it was just an idea, a side way to get around and add to the pressures of having these cities come up with these ordinances. You have a campaign that's very visible from veterans groups that are, that are promoting that kind of thing. It's just one more little way to start changing an attitude, I guess. That was just all I wanted to say. And I'm appreciating the comments from my colleagues here as well, because, it's a complicated issue, and it's very true that unproportionate numbers of people of color are the results of police violence. And I think that's something that we also very strongly about, being a biracial individual myself. So anyway, I wanted to throw that in there and tell you, thank you so much for your passion and your dedication to try to make a difference this way. And that's all. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll put my mic back on mute.
So I loved your comment, and thank you for your kind words. And I hope you saw my email there, because I didn't quite catch where you work, but I would like to follow up with you if you feel like you could help coordinate that or help facilitate that connection with the VA
I have
group.
to tell you that I don't have any extra time at all. I'm a case manager for CalWork, for families in crisis. I have 86 families and 36 extra side cases, and we're going through training right now for a brand new statewide computer system to completely change over what we do into a totally different computer system. And so now I only have 6 hours a day to do what I couldn't do in 8 hours a day, and I don't eat lunch, I don't take breaks, I don't do anything. So I don't have anything extra to give anywhere. I'm already doing it for my clients, but I'd be happy to get a contact name for you.
Exactly.
Okay, so, well, Joan invited me to this. Get in touch, because I can't do much with my cell phone, to be honest. But Joan, if you would give her the temporary email address that I gave you, that you sent this invite to, and my phone number, my cell phone number.
I'll make it a message to Karen, right? Because other people don't need to have your temporary work email address.
Right. Oh, my temporary personal one, actually. But yeah. So that she can get in touch with me sometime next week and be lenient with me, because I can't get to it right away, and I don't have my cell phone on all day because I'm busy with clients. But I'd be very happy to get you the contact, maybe the director of that department and his email and phone number, so that you can maybe take the some steps to reach out to them.
That's
It was just an
exactly.
idea, but happy to do that for you. But I wouldn't be able to participate with you because it's really just absolutely not that second to have extra.
Yeah, no, that's
Wow.
exactly what I was hoping for, just
Mhm.
the connection.
Okay.
Because
And as a
that
matter of
makes-
fact, I'm here at a McDonald's with my computer on, and I'm paying clients for some homeless money right now while I'm listening to you guys, and I'm not getting paid for this. I just feel so bad that I can't get my work done during the regular day. But well,
Boy.
thanks so much for what you do, and Joan, thank you for doing that for me. I appreciate it. You all have a good evening. I'll stick in there. Bye bye.
Thank you for all you do, Elaine. Mercy.
And I see that Shirley has her hand up. Hey, Shirley. I really appreciate you presenting for us tonight, Karen, and giving us your perspective, your personal story. And again, it moves me, and I'm really sorry for your profound loss. I cannot imagine it. So thank you for sharing that, and for all the work that you are doing. And here we are. Now, let me see if I got them big enough. How's that, Rowan?
That's good. Oh, I wish there were notes on these things. Too many dying and families crying. We need to rein in the guns and do it now, now, now. We're gonna build a better future, and we're gonna start right now. We all bewail those gun show sales. We don't weapons of war to be sold in stores. We're gonna build a better future, and we're gonna start right now. We need to get those background checks and keep the guns from the ones who'd kill us now, now, now. We're gonna build a better future, and we're gonna start right now. We are aware that thoughts and prayers will not stop all the guns now in the killer's hands. We need new laws that do much more, and we demand to have them now. You politicians who might be wishing that you could wash all the bloods from your complicit hands, break with the NRA. We need new laws today, and we demand to have them now. No more waiting or hesitating. We must fight with all our might for stronger gun reform. We're going to build a better future, and we're gonna start right now.
All right, everybody. Even though you are muted, I hope you can join me in this very familiar song, which the Raging Grannies always close every event with. We've adapted it to this occasion on gun reform. Let's go. When we make peace instead of war, when we make peace instead of war, how I want to be in that number. When we make peace instead of war, when streets are safe for all to walk, when streets are safe for all to walk, how I want to be in that number. When streets are safe for all to walk, when guns are banned from public places, when guns are banned from public places, how I want to be in that number. When guns are banned from public places, when all are safe within their homes, when all are safe within their homes, how I want to be in that number. When all are safe within their homes, when we make peace instead of war, when we make peace instead of war, how I want to be in that number. When we make peace instead of war, when we make peace instead of war.
Wonderful, wonderful. There you've heard from the grannies. Thank you again, Karen, for your presentation and all this information tonight. And I hope, you know, those of us who live in some cities who are still hanging out there in the red zone get moving their cities into the green. So thank you. Thank you.